Hello, welcome back to the Road to Episode 7, my ongoing series where I chart the road to release of Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens on December 16th, 17th and 18th, 2015, depending on where you are in the world. Quite a few things to talk about today. Just today or yesterday, Harrison Ford was doing the rounds, and all this week we're seeing J.J. Abrams on every single talk show. We're seeing the cast out. Everyone is plugging the movie. It's the final push 2 weeks to go, and Harrison Ford was around. He was on Kelly and Michael. He was on another daytime, morning time show, I think. He talked a lot about his accidents over the past year, how the door that fell on him from the Millennium Falcon, the hydraulic door, which literally was like mechanically powered, and when it landed on him, and it pinned him to the ground basically, and broke his ankle forward and snapped his leg. I mean, it's horrible. And he was pinned to the ground, and no one could move it. And I think I mentioned it before, where J.J. Abrams was trying to pull the door off him, and he broke his back trying to help Harrison Ford. I mean, he was okay. But he found out afterwards that he actually had broken a bone, or fractured a bone in his back, which is ridiculous. So he really wanted to help Harrison Ford, but he couldn't because the door was hydraulic, and they needed to pull it back with the machinery. Harrison Ford luckily had a friend who knew people who kind of helicoptered people out to hospitals and stuff, so he managed to have a very quick response time to get to the hospital to mend his leg and stuff. And then he crashed his plane. And he talks about on the Kelly and Michael interview that he doesn't remember crashing it. He remembers being in the plane, he remembers his engine cut out, he remembers talking to someone through the air traffic control, and he remembers thinking that their idea wasn't a good one. And so he went against what they said, and that's all he remembers. He doesn't remember landing it at all. So, I mean, he had a lucky escape where he crashed a plane without even realizing it, and well, I'm sure he did, but maybe the shock kind of erased it from his memory or something. But, you know, a guy in his 70s, as old as my granddad, crashed a plane and survived. I mean, it's just mental. But he seems very happy about the film. He seems to be in a strangely good mood. I don't know whether he's just getting more upbeat in his later years, but he's famously not been a very enthusiastic promoter of his own films, and just in the public eye in general. He seems very uncomfortable talking about himself. He seems like a very humble guy, and doesn't really see much special in himself. But he seems quite happy about this. He's talked about how he's seen The Force Awakens. He thinks it's a wonderful movie. Obviously, he has to say that, but at the same time, I kind of believe him. It feels to me like he thought it was a good movie, and he was glad that he took part in it. Anyway, another thing I want to talk about, Darth Vader returning on the big screen. Yeah, I hadn't really thought about this, but Rogue One, which is coming out next December in 12 months' time, is going to be a film about the plans that we see in the original Star Wars movie, the Death Star plans, and how they get stolen in the first place. You know, so I mean, Luke Skywalker and Wedge Antilles and all those crew over on Yavin 4 base, they knew how to take down the Death Star, but for them to get that information, someone needed to steal those plans in the first place. So we're getting to see the film of how that happened, and we've already heard that potentially they're trying to digitally recreate Peter Cushing as Grand Moff Tarkin. Although I'd say just get Michael Fassbender to do it, because he looks exactly like a younger Peter Cushing. But the one thing I didn't consider was Darth Vader. I mean, you got to put Vader in there, haven't you? Surely. I mean, why not? Why not? Get James Earl Jones back, you know. I don't know who you'd get to be in the suit, but, you know, why not? You know, and the thing that really kind of kicked my my thoughts on this was going back to, where is it? July last year. Brian Moore, who is one of the most respected sculptors and artists in film history, been working in film for over 46 years and has 39 movie credits. He has been working on, he has worked on Alien, Willow, Raiders of the Lost Ark, Sleepy Hollow, Planet of the Apes, Harry Potter, Guardians of the Galaxy, and of course he was the man who sculpted the Darth Vader's helmet, the original Darth. He's the guy who sculpted the helmet of one of the most iconic movie characters in film history. And so he announced in July of 2014 that he was going to work on Rogue One. 2 and 2 together, what do you think? Do you think it'd be cool to see Darth Vader in Rogue One? You know, would it be a glorified cameo? You know, would it be a main part? You know, would you prefer just not to see him and have it be purely focused on Rebels versus Imperials and no big over-the-top, you know, characters like the Jedi or the Sith? Let me know. It's also worth noting, I think, that Brian Moore also worked on The Force Awakens, so it's not entirely indicative of the fact that Darth Vader is going to be in the film, but it seems likely, and it seems like they should do it. Right. Starkiller Base. Oh, and I believe he sculpted Darth Vader's burnt mask from The Force Awakens as well. Right, so the what did I say then? Yeah, Starkiller Base. More information from the Entertainment Weekly and Empire magazine coverage stuff. In fact, I think this is only from Entertainment Weekly. It might be. Yeah, and some talk with Domhnall Gleeson, who plays General Hux from the First Order. J.J. Abrams says about the Starkiller Base is very much, and it's acknowledged as such in the movie, apparently another Death Star, but what it's capable of, how it works, and what the threat is far greater than what the Death Star could have done. Starkiller Base is another step forward, technologically speaking, in terms of power. Evil's a little bit like a drug. It takes more and more of it to have the same effect, and I think that the First Order is a really deadly drug. So yeah, that's interesting, you know, more powerful than the Death Star. Very interesting stuff. And I'm kind of leaning towards maybe, you know, how can you be more powerful than the Death Star? The Death Star can blow up an entire planet in, like, you know, just boom, done, planet, you know, eviscerated, right? What's bigger than that? Galaxies, solar systems, Starkiller Base. You know, it makes me wonder if the Starkiller Base is designed to blow up stars. I mean, think about that for a second. I mean, blowing up a star could potentially destroy an entire solar system. And yeah, so I mean, that's when you get into terms of almost wiping out like galaxies. I mean, it's ridiculous. And maybe that's where they're going with that. And I would love that because I personally love big scale destruction and how exciting and scary it can be on the big screen. So, my thoughts on that. Again, Starkiller, you know, was Luke Skywalker's original last name, but it might mean more than just a little nod to the almost past of the original movie. Domhnall Gleeson, who plays General Hux, is the young military leader who is the commander of the First Order, and he is defined by arrogance and contempt. Domhnall Gleeson says there's an air of superiority and being better than those people around you. He's pretty ruthless. Strong disciplinarian would be a mild way of putting it. You don't get that high up in your life that quickly unless you're pretty ruthless. You have to put a few people down on the way to get there. He also says that General Hux doesn't carry a signature weapon. He has other people to do his dirty work for him. And he says his disdain for idiosyncrasy applies to his allies as well. You might assume that the cold and calculating General Hux would be on good terms with Kylo Ren, who is Adam Driver's emotion-driven, Darth Vader-obsessed enforcer of the First Order, but you'd be wrong. There is tension in the ranks of the leadership. Consider them frenemies. Where is this from? Entertainment Weekly? They actually said frenemies in an article. Anyway, he's kind of the opposite to Kylo Ren, Domhnall Gleeson says. They have their own relationship, which is individual and unusual. One of them is strong in different ways than the other. They're both vying for power. So very interesting. We're going to see, you know, Domhnall Gleeson is the commander, Kylo Ren is the enforcer, but who is the real mastermind? Is it Snoke? You know, is it Kylo Ren? Is it General Hux? Who's going to win? Who's going to be the big, you know, bad guy of the trilogy? I don't know. I don't see General Hux sticking around much longer than The Force Awakens. We'll see what happens. Though we could see a bit of a twist on conventions. You know, I mean, the trilogies follow a very similar kind of theme. You know, the first movie ends happily and the heroes save the day. The second in the trilogy ends on a bit of a down note and the heroes kind of lose. And then the third one ties it all up. Well, actually, no, the third one at the end of Revenge of the Sith, everyone, the bad guys win. So completely different. But maybe the first one, the trilogy, will be more like an Empire Strikes Back, where the end of The Force Awakens, everyone loses, and so they got to claw their way back over the next two films. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think General Hux will last the entire trilogy for sure. That's about it for this one. Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Leave your thoughts down below about anything I'll talk about in this video, and I'll see you in the next one.
I don't know, Pod Second.